The team is smashing it with .NET MAUI. There's Preview 5 out now, so let's go check out what that's all about. Before I show off all the new .NET MAUI goodness, there is 2 new senior developers on my membership for this channel that I need to do a little shout out to. So Angelo Bestetti and Tom Reamer, thank you so much for joining my channel as a member and paying a small price back for all the things that I'm doing here. If you want to become a member yourself, please click that little join button down below this video and check out what that's all about. Before we go and play with all the new bits, let's check out what it's all about first. David wrote this wonderful blog post. We are still recovering from Microsoft Build and Preview 4, and now already .NET Preview, .NET 6 Preview 5, naming is still hard, is already out, which is really, really cool. So this is the app that we're going to show in a little bit again. You can check out the other video, at least on Preview 4. I've shown this as well, because this is the demo that came out after Build that David and all the other people on the team have been working on as kind of a sample app that we can use for .NET MAUI. Actually, I just now noticed that this is a video, so let's just click play and you can see this great animation coming in here. So that's one thing that is new, but before we go dive into that a little bit deeper, he also says we have also published our first batch of preview documentation. So the documentation is already coming. You can already start looking into what is .NET MAUI from the documentation, and then you have the bitch to actually install it and go look at it. So if we quickly go over to the docs.microsoft.com/.net/MAUI, little pro tip right here, you can skip the ENUS, and when you do, it will automatically go to a localized version if it's available. So you don't have to remember that, just docs.microsoft.com/.net/MAUI works for all the docs pages. Little pro tip right here in this video. And here we have an overview. What is .NET Multi-Platform App UI? Supported platform. So that's an interesting one. Let's go there. Android 5, API 21 and higher, iOS 10. I think those are slightly higher than Xamarin.Forms is right now, which makes total sense because, you know, time went on. We have to cut a little bit of that old legacy features. So just move on to the new ones. macOS 11. So that is quite recent. And Windows Desktop UWP using WinUI 3. So that's pretty cool. But here, this is what I found really interesting. Additional platform support, Tizen. The Tizen team is also with Xamarin.Forms doing a great job. They're really fast at catching up with even big features. Just when we merged collection view, then collection view, boom, was also support added for Tizen. And the same thing now actually with the Xamarin Community Toolkit. They've also added, I think, the media element there. So they're doing a really great job. And the most important thing, maybe most interesting thing, is Linux. A lot of people also on this channel have asked me, where is the Linux support that's not being talked about? Well, there's being talked about it now. It is just like with Xamarin.Forms. There has been a couple of platforms that are supported by the community. So, you know, if you want to make this happen, then you are partly responsible for that. So you can make it happen. Linux is here on the list. And, you know, if it get enough traction, then who knows what might happen. Maybe it will bump up the list and it will be supported by Microsoft because, you know, we love Linux now too. So that is pretty cool. Okay, so if we go back a little bit, get started, installation, build your first app, migrate from Xamarin.Forms. I still have to make that video, I promised you, but now there's some documentation to back it up, so I might just go through these docs to see if I'm missing anything, and then I'll be pouring that into a video for you. App startup, single project, and customized controls. So, you know, creating your own handlers and that kind of stuff. Really cool stuff. There's not that much on here yet, but I'm absolutely sure that this is going to grow like crazy and all the stuff will be on here, just like Xamarin.Forms, because the documentation is so good. Okay, so that out of the way. Here we can still see the looping animation that's going on, which is really great. You can see these cards just fading in, maybe moving a little bit to the right. I don't know. Maybe just a little bit, but animation. So animations have been implemented as view extensions, the fade to, rotate to, scale to, and translate to, and more. So that's just a couple of them. And you can make use of the new attached handler, which is really cool. So if we click on this one, it will take us to the PR. And we now have a couple of new events, apparently, on a visual element. that is attaching handler. So that fires before the handler was created. Remember, the handler is kind of the new renderer, which is not a renderer, but it's the new concept of a renderer. Also, attached handler. So then you know the handler is attached, and that fires after the handler has created and set the native view. This was always a problem with the renderers, right? Because with the renderers, you had to do like control is null, is not null, or the other things, the element, and you always had to figure out which was what, which was the native control, which was the forms control. And now you just have these events, and you have the guarantee that the native view is set, and you can always do all your things with that. So what is happening? It's here used for doing the animation. So on the frame, whenever the handler is attached, then there's probably some code inside of there that will actually do the animation. So we'll see about that in a little bit. And here we have a flex layout where we have the bindable layout. So that's cool. I think the bindable layout is now going to see bindable layouts, see what's going on here. We already have bindable layouts in Xamarin.Forms, and they're probably going to expand that a little bit to other layouts as well, although I think you can already use it for all the layouts basically. But you know, it's just here included for reference, so you can set the item template, so you can use templates now. I'm not sure if that's already possible in today's version, and the item source, and you can just use that in a flex layout, which is, you know, makes it very adaptive to all kinds of viewports and devices, so that's really cool. And here you can just say, okay, on attached, the frame, on appearing. So on appearing, I think the lifecycle events are also getting some love in .NET MAUI, because that was also a thing in Xamarin.Forms. They were in there, but not always that reliable. So I'm pretty sure that the team took this opportunity to make that right for .NET MAUI. And then you can say transition in, and it will loop through all the items, which is the tiles that we see here, and it will do that little animation, fade to. So it just does the fade. The moving was just in my head probably. So that is how you can do that. And of course, you can create custom animations as well, which is described in the documentation. So that is now in that .NET MAUI as well. You can go check that out. Now, in this release, there's several new controls added. The activity indicator that we all know and love, the checkbox by James Montemagno. He's still very proud of that. The image and the stepper. So that are new controls, well, new old controls that were already in Xamarin.Forms, but now ported to the new architecture in .NET MAUI. So I don't know if this is an app that's out there. Let me actually check that out and incorporate that in this video. And it's much easier in .NET MAUI Preview 5. We've made it much easier to just say use MAUI app. And I think that will automatically find out for you, like if you are using handler controls or renderer controls or whatnot. And before you had to use that UseFormsCompatibility, mind you, that method has disappeared. That's not needed anymore. And I think this is all handled now in the Use MAUI app. So see startup wiki. I think that might be good. This is on .NET/MAUI. So github.com/.NET/MAUI/wiki application startup. Links like always below in the video description. And you can find here what all is happening in the application startup. So it uses the host builder, which is really cool because that is a general thing in the .NET space now. We can have this minimal startup. We do something with the windows. I went over that in other videos, so go check that out if you haven't done so already. Register fonts, compatibility. So I'll go over this a little bit more whenever we are looking at actual code and whenever I'm going to make specific videos for this. But yeah, so here is basically how you can get started. There is some info on the wiki right now, so go check that out if you're having trouble with anything on here. So new controls, that is pretty cool. And we have Shell. I think Shell is in here now as well. I'm not sure if it's entirely complete. It probably says it somewhere here. But now we have Shell. That was another question that a lot of people had. Is Shell going to be in .NET MAUI? It absolutely is, because everything that is in Xamarin.Forms 5 today will be in .NET MAUI, but better and more polished. So that's great. Nothing is taken away from you. Very important. And now Shell is here, at least the new, the first bits. So go check that out. I think the syntax is going to be mostly the same. So, you know, that would be an easy port. You just have to change the namespace and boom, your MAUI app, your MAUI Shell app has now been ported. Oh, so this is the control gallery. This is actually an app that I think it still is an app that we used, which was much more ugly than this. That was used by the team to, check out all the issues, if there were regressions. The UI tests were ran on this. And now you can see this is used as like a sample app for all the controls that are in here. Probably the UI tests are going to happen with this as well. So this is probably in the .NET MAUI repository actually. So let me see if I can get that up and running for you so we can click through that as well. The very latest information about all the controls, layouts, and features. If you're dependent on a certain control or looking forward to what's going on here, then go to this page, .NET MAUI/wiki/status, where you can see the status of all the controls and all the properties that have been implemented, yes or no, with a little legend at the top, like pending, underway, or done. And you can see more and more green is showing up here, so more controls have actually been implemented. So you can check out if that control that you're worried about or that you're heavily dependent upon in your current app, then you can check out if that is already implemented, yes or no. So that's a very good thing. Single project, that is the thing that's ongoing as well. So these things are happening. These are kind of like going in parallel because that's a totally different team. But looking at this little screenshot here, I only see like the .NET 5 or the MAUI 5 project. We already had the project which could do iOS, Android, and macOS. The WinUI project was actually two projects, WinUI and WinUI package, and you had to run that package project whenever you wanted to show it up in running in your Windows environment. Now the package project has disappeared, so I guess that's not needed anymore, and you just have that WinUI project. And I think in the longer term that WinUI project is going away as well and should be in the MAUI project, so you just have that single project for running all your apps. So I think you need to update the project reunion preview thing. I'm going to do that just after this, and a single project MSIX packaging tool. Okay, so that's both in preview. Make sure that you install these. I'm not going to show that all to you. I'm sure you can download these installers and do next finish. So I'm sure you can figure that out. But I think with that, getting started with .NET MAUI Preview 5, we're going to use the MAUI check tool. Go check that video out if you don't know what that is. I have a video about that as well. That's a tool that can get you the latest bits for .NET MAUI, the latest preview, easier than ever. And I think we can also run this with Visual Studio 2022 Preview 1. So let's just not delay any further. Let's go check out how we can run all this goodness and how it looks like whenever we're running all this. So I've opened up a little command line window. Actually, let me get the regular command prompt and I can zoom that in easily. There we go. And I have the MAUI check tool already installed. So let's just run that and see if that gives us anything. Oh, I need to update it first. That's something that might happen. The tool is already also under development, so we need to update that first. We can do that with the instructions that are shown on screen. .NET tool update, min global, reth.net.maui.check. So let's do that. Successfully upgraded from 5.5 to 0.56, so that's great. Now let's do MAUI check again. And it should run, it should give us all the things, so I'll just let this run for a little bit. MAUI templates, yes please, give me the newest bits, I want them. And congratulations, everything looks great. So enter to exit, and that's all there is to it. Now, like I just mentioned, I already installed the project reunion and that other MSIX for the single project packaging or something like that. So let's just dive into Visual Studio 2022 and see if we can get all this running. Okay, so remember how I just said we're going to do this on Visual Studio 2022? Well, forget about that. I went to Visual Studio 2019 16.11 pre-1, I think we're still on, because the extensions that you have to install with for Project Reunion and the single project thing that we've just seen, they're not compatible with 2022 yet. So if you want to get the best experience at this time, you probably want to stick with 16.11 for a little while longer, but I'm sure that for 2022, things will be coming along very shortly. So this is Visual Studio 2019. You can see the weather app. I've cloned the repository, got all the latest bits. You can see it right here. And the thing that we've just seen in the blog post is like if we go here to the favorites, then you can see that smooth animation of them transitioning in. So that's really cool. And why I'm showing you this on Android is because now we can see the difference between this one. Again, I've shown it in the last video. But you can see that this is really responsive because here, you can see that it fits on this Android screen. This is a phone. But if we now go over to Visual Studio right here and I set my starter project to WinUI, and if you notice right here, we only have one WinUI project left. So before you had the WinUI package one, if you've seen the other video, you might still remember that. But now we have this one, and this one is also set to disappear and go up in this single project right here. But for now, we're stuck with the WinUI project. And what's really cool, we can just press play here. Again, you really have to have installed the extensions that I mentioned earlier. But then you can just press play now and it will start the debug session and it will come up with that window. There we go, here it comes, and you can see, so this is the responsive things I'm talking about, right? In Android, you would only see this space right here, and you could have this carousel view right here. But for this on UWP, now you have this full window that you can use, this full screen, this full resolution, so you can place much more information on it, and that is what makes this really cool. And again, if we go here to this little favorites page, then you can see the smooth transition here as well. So that is implemented on Android, UWP, iOS, undoubtedly. So that's now there on all of these apps. And what is really cool is that you can also use this with .NET Hot Reload, of course. So let's check out if we can add another animation here that was mentioned in the blog post. So let's go to my Solution Explorer, and I think it's on a page, and we have that favorites page. I think we saw a little code snippet from that in the blog post as well. So here we have a grid, a scroll view, all things that you know already from Xamarin.Forms. And here on this frame, you can see the new attached handler. So here we have that event. If you think back from a little minute ago, this is the event that is fired whenever the handler has done its work. The forms component is already available. The native view is available to you. So then you can go into this attached and you can do your things. So if we check out the code behind right here, we can see that here on attached, there we go. So it takes the frame because it was attached to a frame, and it adds that to this little tiles collection that we have going on here, and it increases a count. I don't think this count is even used. So it uses this, and then when we transition in, so here on appearing, we do this transition in. And then we have this item.fade2, which is looping through these tiles. So as the frames are added, it will go into this collection, and then on the appearing of the page, it will do that little cool animation. Now, note that we are still running, so this is still here. You can see the debug session is still going on. And now let's try if we can add let's make a little rotate to. So let's make a rotate to. What do we need to do here? I think we need degrees or rotation. Yeah, 360. Let's do that. And let's also do 800 for the length. There we go. Save that. And I think right now what we need to do is that we have to click this little hot reload button here, apply code changes. And then if we go back to our application, then we should be able to go back to the home right here, and we go back to the favorites. You can see it does the rotate as well together with the fade. So we have this basic animations going that you can implement right now, which is really cool. Maybe the rotate one is not as fancy as the little fade that's coming in, but it looks kind of nice. At least you have it all in your toolbox. So now it's up to you to make it look pretty. Now, if we go back to our Solution Explorer, I don't think that much has changed that is actually in here besides just, there's new stuff that is available to you right now. I talked a little bit about that control gallery thing. So let's just have a quick look at that so we can see what controls are already implemented at this time. So earlier I said the control gallery is something that is used, at least in Xamarin.Forms. That's the name for the project that we had to, which lists all the controls and all the properties for the controls. And it would be used for the UI tests to see if everything still works and there's no regressions. But it seems that something David cooked up. It might move to the repository. I don't know. I saw already some control things in the .NET MAUI repository as well, but for now it's this separate control gallery. If you look at this, you can see this is running on Mac Catalyst, so that's cool. And it is the single project thing. So if we go in here, source, control gallery, you can see this is the single project. So Android, Mac Catalyst, iOS is all in here. It seems that it might actually use Shell, or can use Shell. So that is pretty cool as well. I pulled out the latest codes from this, and there's not that much fancy stuff going on here. You just have a whole bunch of pages that you can say like, hey, this is a slider page, or this is a whatever page. So for each control there is a page. So this is probably kind of like the controls that are implemented right now. Actually, what is interesting is that this probably then uses Shell. You can see here title, colors, activity, because Shell is now new in Preview 5 of .NET MAUI as well, right? So you can see that it works. I think this is the exact same syntax as you would do on Xamarin.Forms, just a different namespace that you need to import here. So that is pretty cool. And what we get out of the box, so we're now back on macOS. So you need to run this through the terminal. You need to build, because in Visual Studio for Mac, the tooling is not really up to date yet. But whenever you do, you can definitely get this running. And here we are. So this is then a shell app on .NET MAUI Preview 5. And because we declared it like with the flyout items and whatnot, we have that here in this menu, right? So that is pretty cool, just as you expect Shell to work. And then if we go to activity indicator, you can see that is implemented, is running, and it's a little bit styled as well with the color. It might be hard to see on the screen, but the color is a little bit different. So then we have a button. So here is all kinds of buttons with different properties that are set. So primary fill, primary outline, all kinds of things, probably the enabled and the disabled states. The checkbox, I already mentioned that one as well, has a nice little animation going. So the checkbox is in here available for you to use. The date picker is that? Oh, the date picker is here. So that's cool as well. What do we have? The image is also already there. Shapes, do we have already some shapes? Well, you can see, I don't know what this is supposed to mean here at the end, but we have shapes. Do we have the slider already? The slider is here as well. So that is awesome. What do we have else? The stepper is already in here as well. So here you can see basically margin padding. Oh, this pushes away my little navigation bar. So let me do that. And the switch with all kind of properties. So here you can see basically all the controls that are implemented right now. It seems to be, nearing completion, which is to be expected whenever, we progress through all the previews. A lot of the controls are now already in here, already available. So you can check that out, and I'm sure David will update this, and there will also be a sample project in the MAUI repository. There probably already is, but I just don't know where it is exactly or how to use it at this time. And that is kind of the state and the new things that are available in .NET MAUI Preview 5. I've already mentioned it a couple of times. There is definitely more content coming on .NET MAUI. I'm still waiting on, until the previews are a little bit more mature, but there is already the docs now with some cool stuff in there. So I will go through those, see if I can get that to work, and already start creating some content. Let me know what specifically you're interested in for .NET MAUI. Let me know in the comments down below, and then I will make videos on that. I'll prioritize them. Let me see what I can do there. While you're down there in the comments, please click that like button for this video. And if you haven't done so already, maybe subscribe to my channel, or if you've already subscribed, take the next step and join my channel as a member, because for a small fee, you will get a shout out in this video. Maybe you will get a special role on the Discord server, all kinds of things that you can do as a member, which is really cool. Other than that, I'll be seeing you for my next video. Keep coding.